We are living in times where there is an assault on sanity. Political correctness has run amok and logic has been left by the wayside. Do you constantly ask yourself, WTF is going on in this nation? Do you sometimes feel like a stranger in your own country? Well, fear not. You are not alone. This is the Whiskey Tango Foxtrot Show, coming to you from deep inside flyover country with your hosts, V. Wright and Jose Estevez.
Welcome, everybody. It's WTF, and I am V. Wright.
And I am Jose Estevez. And I'm so happy to be back with you, folks. It's 2016. Folks, we're coming to you live 4 nights a week, Monday through Thursday, from 6 to 8 p.m. Eastern. Unrehearsed, unscripted, unfiltered. You'll definitely find that out. And PG-13, but never PC. This is the Whiskey Tango Foxtrot Show.
Absolutely it is. And if you guys would like to share our information, whether that would be through a download, through an archive, or to listen live to our program with your friends, family, loved ones, associates, etc., just send everybody to our website, thewtfradioshow.com, where you can either listen to us live. If for some reason you're having an issue there, the links on the right-hand side will carry you to another host for live listening of our program, and those include PNN, talkradio.com. That's our host network, Patriot Network News, patriotsride.org, Spreaker.com, iTunes, and you can find us on iHeartRadio. You can find us on YouTube for archives. There's many ways to locate this show. In addition to that, of course, we'd like to remind you, as with all of our live broadcasts, our phone lines are open from the moment that we go live till the moment we shut down. And you can get in touch with us by calling 313-462-0068. Oh, Lord, I took a week off, and that's all it took.
That's why I have sticky notes all over the place. Just the thing for that memory that fails when you most need it. So
I'm getting old-timers.
I hear you. I think I'm getting it too.
But anyway, we would love to hear your comments, what you think about what's going on. It doesn't have to be our particular topic, just any topic will do. Senor!
Okay, I've got to say something, and we've just got a ton to talk about. I just wanted to say that we had some technical difficulties last night. If we are having those and you can't get us live, keep trying, keep refreshing. If you can't, occasionally it's going to happen despite our best efforts. And trust me, we're putting in our best efforts to be with you 4 nights a week, every week. Just a FYI on that. Keep refreshing, and sometimes if we're not there, we're just not there. We apologize for that. I want to say something real quick before we jump into what's going on. Over the holiday, I went and spent some time with my parents down in Tennessee. God, I love that state. I hate the VA. My dad, after I think it was almost 2 years, finally got an appointment through the VA with that little choice card. Remember that little choice card that they made such a big deal? Well, if the VA can't help you, you can go find it out in the community. It took him 2 years, folks, to get an appointment to see a neurologist. He had people that work on his eyes telling him he needed to see a neurologist, but he couldn't get the appointment because the VA doctor wouldn't let him. I sat in the waiting room as my father was wheeled back to see the neurologist, who after half hour, 45 minutes with him said, we need a bunch of testing to figure out what's going on here because there are some issues. He couldn't get the testing because the VA only approved the visit, not the testing, which could have been done downstairs in the same building we were sitting at after 2 friggin' years.
That is
so insane. I hate the VA. I hate everybody related to that. I don't think there's a good one among them. The people at the office were very apologetic. They just said, you can't deal with the VA. You simply can't. There is a big problem, folks. We have illegals coming into the United States by the millions upon millions. They get everything for free. They are now housed on military bases, United States military bases. My father, a veteran of the Korean War, wounded in combat, served proudly, can't get the help he needs through the Veterans Administration, and it's a damned shame of this country. And you can say what you want about who's going to fix it or not, but it's got to be fixed, and it's got to go from the top down, the bottom up, sideways, everything. It is a crying freaking shame. He's sitting in a wheelchair. He can't get the help he needs because of the Veterans Administration.
Well,
I
you
could
know
say
what?
a lot more.
Well, you know what? The fact of the matter is, between the fraud and better than 50% of the population, we all get to experience that, whether or not you have private insurance or not, thanks to the Affordable Care Act through Obamacare. Right. So, when I discuss this with my friends in the military or veterans, they say, you know what? Y'all got TRICARE. Good luck with it. We've been dealing with it. Yeah, everybody thinks it's such a benefit. Right. Now the nation has TRICARE. Enjoy it.
This is the shame of the nation. I sat there and saw him. We had to go home because he could not get the testing that doctor that he had finally seen after 2 years of the Veterans Administration. He said, some eye specialist even told him, you need to see a neurologist. An eye specialist telling him he needs to see a neurologist, which is obviously a completely different thing. They could tell, but they couldn't get him in to see them. He had to go to his VA doctor, who kept saying, no, you don't need to go to that. You don't need to go to that. Finally, they allowed him after 2 years, and he had to go home after his visit that day. And now there he sits at home, can't get the help that he needs. I'll tell you what. I don't know that Trump can fix it. I don't know that Cruz. I don't know that anybody can fix it. And it hasn't been just going on under Obama. I guess the reason I'm more upset at this point is because, well, first of all, it's my dad, of course. But second of all, even if it wasn't my dad, regardless, there are thousands upon tens of thousands of other veterans getting treated the same. But we've got all these illegals. We've got money for everything else. We've got more.
Senor,
yes.
Be glad it's not a heart condition or thrombosis in his brain, or
right. I'm sure there's people that that is affecting
that
them.
Is where those deaths come from while they are waiting. Those people die waiting. So as much as I'm hating this, because you know that I have a huge affinity in my heart for your dad,
yes,
I just love him to death. As much as I understand where you're coming from, I am so thankful that the doctor's appointment that he is waiting for is not for a terminal condition.
True. But the problem is, the condition that he has is severe enough that he can't use his one arm. This is majorly affecting him. He can't feel in his one hand and stuff. This is, like I said, this is a neurology thing. And they also said he needs an MRI. He can't get them because guess what, folks? When he goes back out to talk to the ladies, the sweet ladies, wonderful ladies that work in this facility, not a VA facility, like I said, they said, you know what they said? You can't deal with the VA. And guess what? The VA only approved his visit, apparently. No further testing, which they could do downstairs. When we went down in the elevator, he could have got all the blood work done right there in the same facility. We took an hour drive to get in from where they live, out in the boonies, out in beautiful East Tennessee. God, love that state.
Right.
And like I said, he can't. We had to go home. He couldn't get the MRI. Of course, that had to be scheduled out. But the VA only approved after 2 years the visit.
Well, that's not uncommon. That is not uncommon, and this is how our military personnel,
it should not be.
It
should not be acceptable. I know it's not
shouldn't
uncommon.
be acceptable, but you know what? In all honesty, what it will take is like it's going to take for gun control, or like it's going to take for any other change. It is going to take the masses of people affected, whether or not they're affected or they feel like they're affected or not, the people involved. That means 100% of or at least 90% of those veterans that are getting VA benefits to converge upon their community VA center. That's what it's going to take. And that's going to take a national event. That's just like with all this other foolishness that's going on. It's going to take action, but it's going to have to be a national action at state or local level. That is what it's going to take. This particular administration and legislative branch are going to do not one damn effective, right, moral, integrity-bound thing. Not one. Not one.
We're gonna have to get
and
it
angers me because I love your dad. I do love your dad.
I know. I understand. I know what you're saying. But it's sad that these guys that went overseas in many occasions went overseas to fight for their country, maybe their final fight is going to have to be fighting their own countrymen working at the so-called Veterans Administration. I mean, the irony is so thick you could cut it with a dull butter
But the
knife.
fact of the matter is that is the plan of this current government.
I agree.
Make them wait, give them hope, and let them die.
Right.
I mean, that's just the fact of it. Well, we're going to move right along. Of course, tonight is Tuesday night, and given the fact that we took 2 weeks took a week of vacation, of course, for the Christmas break, for the New Year's, we took that. Then last night, we had production software problems. Could not get online to save our souls. So thankful, just so thankful. I don't know if anybody ever thanks the dead, but a very dear friend of ours taught me how to set up this particular production software that we utilize to bring you guys the show. And he passed away this year, but
Yes, he did.
I'm just thankful that he was the one that taught me how to set it all up. I watched it happen once, and I was scared to death last night I would not be able to replicate it. But I did, and I was able to replicate in 3 hours what took us a week to do the first time. So I'm like really grateful. But in addition to that, normally on Tuesday nights we bring recurring guest host Suzanne Sherman with us. And she usually comes in a little later. But she's with us from start to finish tonight because we have so many things that we're going to get into. So, Suzanne, I want to thank you for joining us again tonight and hope you had a Merry Christmas and a Happy New Year.
Happy New Year. It's great to be back. With my illness I had a couple weeks ago, it's been about 3 weeks since I've been on, and I was so bummed you were having some issues last night, but I have to say I'm delighted to be on the first show of the year, so thank you for having me.
Oh, always.
Happy New Year.
Always. Oh, we're getting messages across the board that it's so good to hear our voices.
God bless you people that are listening and they're communicating with us. God bless you. Thank you.
Absolutely.
Thank you.
Absolutely. Well, there's so much that we could discuss. We could, if we didn't have so much on the table, we could sit here and talk to you guys a little bit about how, our Christmas and our New Year's were, etc., and all the wonderful things that we are looking forward to. However, the introduction to 2016 sucks! Even
the president's crying.
Well, right. He's at least acting like he's crying, right? Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Well, I'm going to tell you guys, he had his news conference, and we all knew this was coming. The news conference today was 36 minutes long. Now, I'm going to tell you that it took 22 of those minutes before he actually even started to get into what his point was. Now, we had all expected him to come forward with some massive gun control. And, this was no surprise whatsoever. What we did anticipate that we did not get was that he would include anyone on a no-fly list as being ineligible to have a gun. We knew that was disastrous. We also knew it was unconstitutional because you did not have due process. Now, he's
a constitutional lawyer, V. Come on.
Oh, he made that point today.
And he said it.
Yes, he did. Yes, he did.
On the Queen of
because
Siam,
he taught constitutional law.
But then when he referred to the Constitution, he referred to it as that paper.
I'm exactly. I was blown away. We all know how it reads. Well, number one, the Bill of Rights, is not in the Constitution. But we'll go beyond that. When he said that, I almost fell out of my chair. Some of the things that he was discussing was that most American gun owners agree with him. And I'm going to tell you, he has a point, but it's all in how you question and how you consider it. Even the NRA responded at first that, oh, well, this is as bad as it gets. Guys, this is bad. The news is kind of downplaying this. And the NRA, I don't think, have really considered the scope of all the things that he laid on the table.
It's huge.
Well, exactly.
And it grows the bureaucracy. First of all, your BATFE, who I have absolutely less than no use for, they get more people. You know, the same people that were giving guns to the Mexican scumbags, one of those guns ended up killing Brian Terry. They get more people, folks. The BATFE, I'll tell you what, if you know somebody that works with the BATFE, they're not good people. I don't care what you say about them. They're not good people.
Well, the thing is I don't know that anybody noticed, but instead of saying that these are gun control issues, he's calling them gun safety measures. They're gun safety measures. And so some of the things that he outlined today is anyone selling guns more than 2 in a year is considered a business and is required to do a background check. They are going after trusts and corporations because as he stated, there will be no tolerance for hiding your guns. He will be making Form 4473 more effective by, as you said, adding 200 more agents to the BATFE and the FBI. He will be updating their system. He is going to be expanding the length of time required for a background check. He says he wants the enforcement of current laws on sales, domestic violence, etc. Well, he could have done that. He could have also enforced it with Fast and Furious. Right. He wants to put more people on mental health programs.
That's where you're going to see.
And I don't know that anybody caught this. And assist in preventing suicide. Now, I've been talking about this for the last 2 days, but I'm going to go on. We'll get to this. He did not allocate himself, but he is calling for Congress to authorize $500 million to Obamacare to expand the mental health. And part of this is all mental health records will now go to the FBI BAFTE. Now,
the growth of your federal bureaucracy, folks, can't be good.
He wants to boost gun safety technology, and he is planning on pulling funding. I don't know where he thinks he's going to get it, so that the government funds the research for the technology so that your gun can be tracked like your iPhone. And that is what he clearly stated. Now, those are the things that he said. And I want you and I and Suzanne to talk about all of these things.
Right.
We'll go with the first one. You are now required to have a license and do background checks if you sell 2 or more guns in a year. Senor and Suzanne.
I'm going to tell you right now. Go ahead, Suzanne. Go ahead.
No, you go ahead. Go ahead.
Well, I was just going to say there's a thing called civil disobedience, and I don't know what you folks want to do, and I won't advocate anything. How about that? But I know what I'll do. So civil disobedience That means you don't have to follow rules that really aren't rules.
Suzanne?
I think the people in New York and Connecticut have been doing the same thing with refusing to register their laws, but not even addressing each of these issues on their own. I would like to have just a blanket statement that this very action that he has done is just par for the course of him and his unconstitutional use of decrees and executive orders to get around the Constitution, where Congress has not failed to act but refused to act. You can go back to the net neutrality. He was never going to get that passed, so the FCC just said by decree, well, you know what, the internet now falls within telecommunications, regulations, and we are going to make our regulations because Congress wouldn't do what he had wanted them to do. The same thing with the DREAM Act that didn't go through Congress. He would come up with his own executive orders, and now he's doing more of these gun control regulations. Now, remember, in calling them, once again, they will cloak something under the veil of making it sound good, gun safety. No, it's really about control. So look at the use of an executive order. He is not a legislator. He is part of the executive branch, which is Article 2 of the Constitution. Article 1 clearly says that all executive or all legislative power lies with Congress. All of
Correct.
it.
Correct.
Okay, so
and he has gone from enforcing the law, which is his job, to legislating the law.
Exactly.
Which is not his
powers
job.
under Article 2 are very few and very limited. Now, implied with his power is to have these executive orders, which a legitimate example of their use is to carry out a constitutional function of his branch of government. An example of that could be issuing a pardon. An illegitimate use is what we have here, is where he issues an order which is really nothing more than passing a law where he circumvents Congress. And now here's the other thing I found interesting, or really more frustrating, is you have these congressmen, particularly the constitutional conservative like Rand Paul, who is my favorite. He's complaining that Obama is doing these gun control laws without Congress. Well, guess what? We have this thing called the Second Amendment that prohibits Congress from any gun control regulations, any whatsoever. So they shouldn't be complaining that he's doing it without them, because he shouldn't be doing it. They shouldn't be doing it. Nobody in the federal government has the authority to have these laws, period.
Exactly.
And that's what people are focusing on.
Well, I agree with you, and we've discussed that in depth on the show. Anytime you give an inch to the government where you can understand, what you have to think about is, one of the things that he talked about today was, over 30,000 people died last year due to gun violence. There are over 300 million people in the United States of America. 30,000 doesn't even make 0.5%. Mm-hmm. 0.5%. Now, he got up there touting, the children that had died, it's okay if we send you to Planned Parenthood and the children are massacred and they're dissected and their body parts are shipped off, but God forbid that they are shot by a gun. And let's be honest, how many of them are even children? The 18-year-old thug, like your little son, St. Trayvon, of Skittles, or, your other son, Sweet Swisher Brown of Ferguson, they don't count as the little children like you tried to portray them. They just are not. One of some of the things that he said today was that the price of freedom cannot be carnage. Dude, you created this environment.
Oh, yeah.
You created this environment with this intent. So, yes, do we have bad situations occur in this country? Yes. To sit here and say, it's unlike any place else in the world, a bold-faced lie. Then you had the nerve to bring up, this happens in Chicago every day, without failing to mention that it's a damn gun-free zone.
Mm-hmm. Well, he's being disingenuous would be, a gross misunderstatement. But let's face it, like you brought up the Chicago thing. Abortions are okay, and the extremely late-term abortions that happen every weekend in Chicago are overlooked. No problem at all. That's just business as usual. That's just what happens. It's not a big deal. So he's full of it from the beginning. Like I said, to say he's disingenuous, is doing a disservice to that word. They don't care. It's all about, and you said, Stan said, it's all about control. That's what it's all about.
Exactly. Well, another part of his executive fiat of today is going after trust and corporations. Now, guys, there are a lot of people who have gone through every legal, as a matter of fact, had to, in order to put it in a trust or corporation, go through every legal channel, do background checks, file for tax stamps, etc. Particularly more so, I think, with corporations, possibly with trusts, in order to place their property in what they deemed a secure setting. And so now he's going after that. And everybody says, well, how is he doing that? Well, turns out that you're basically going to have to re-register it to a degree and give your thumbprint and your photo to the FBI and ATF for their approval. And stored it. And if it is in trust, that's not only for you, the person who placed it in trust, but that's for any other individual who may be on that trust.
Okay.
And if anyone can't pass it, then guess what? The trust is invalid for that purpose, or the weapon is invalid. So, I mean, you've got that problem. 200 more agents. We all know that every time the government doesn't lay off anybody.
More and more, I don't know. We got to be careful what we say, but it's just
no.
It's
I don't have to be
folks.
careful because I don't give a damn.
It's getting to the point where talk is only going to do us so much good. They're not going to stop. And I don't care if you get a Republican in November. I don't care who it is in November. The bureaucracy keeps going on, folks. Unless they're going to shut down the entire federal government, the bureaucracy keeps going on. Those people are going to keep doing their jobs. Your little ATF agents, your little FBI agents working under the lynch mob over there. These people keep doing their jobs because we're just doing our jobs. Just like the good people in Germany that were making sure that the Jews were taken to the extermination camps on time and on schedule and under budget on the trains, because they weren't Nazis. Remember, the Nazis were a very small minority of Germans, but these are I equate them with Nazis. I am doing that right now. I am doing that, and you can call in and tell me I'm wrong.
Well,
but
you're
I'm
absolutely right.
Federal employees that support this stuff and keep it happening, I am calling them akin to the Germans that weren't the Nazi agents, but they carried out everything that the Nazis wanted. Because I'll tell you what, if it's wrong, it's wrong, and you have a responsibility, you have a duty to disobey it. But you know what? They don't want to lose their retirements. They don't want to lose their big. They worked 20 years in federal law enforcement, 20 or 25 at the most, and then they're done. So then they can go do all their other jobs and make even more money when they're done. Because I work for the federal government, I've got all this knowledge. Then they can go do that.
For the top brass in the military as well. I mean,
I'm telling you, yes, exactly. Yes.
Well, I think the biggest part of all of this, in all honesty, and people are saying, and we've covered a lot of these incidences on the show, that whether they be false flag events or staged events, we've seen those. We've seen both. We've seen legitimate events. But the biggest probably concern for me is the fact that this executive action transfers your private, personal, medical records to the FBI and the ATF for them to determine,
stuff, right?
Yes, for them to determine whether or not you are eligible to own a weapon. Guys, I don't think anybody is understanding. This sounds good. When you sell it, I could sell it.
Yes,
I could sell it because
agree.
it sounds so good. I don't want crazy people. I don't want schizophrenics by the millions walking through the streets with an AK-47. Absolutely, I can sell it. But let's think about this. Let's think about this. If you've ever been diagnosed with ADD as a child, if you've ever taken certain antidepressants,
this is where that's all going to come in.
If you are a military member and you suffer from PTSD, from TBI, or you suffered an injury, a physical injury, because let's be honest here, anytime you have suffered a physical injury in your life that you have filed a lawsuit, or that you could have filed a lawsuit on, or that you contemplated, what is always included? Pain and suffering, mental anguish. So then you have that. Am I crazy, you guys, in understanding how easy it's going to be for this to boom?
Is it possible? I'm going to throw something out, and Suzanne, then I'll let you talk. Is it possible when he was crying today, those were tears of joy? When you cry, if you truly cry, it comes from the inside of your eye. All of you know that. Think about it for a second. Every time you cried, when you cry from the outside of your eye like he did, I think it's either fake because he was reaching up towards his eyes, he's putting something there that makes him cry, or perhaps tears of joy. And when I say that, do I sound crazy, or does that sound like a possibility because of what he just snuck in today is bigger than like V said? I talked to a libtard today, and a libtard said, well, how can you disagree with anything he said? It sounds commonsensical. It really does. I don't want to say it does, but it really does. Suzanne, what do you think?
Well, I mean, they're casting a wide net here, going back to the list of people that are going to be considered prohibited class from having firearms. Look at the people on Social Security, those that are going to be needing assistance with their finances. My gosh, I can't balance my own checkbook. I'm so glad that it's done for me online. That kids with they call it now ODD. If you question authority, if you're defiant. Now, V, you were tying in the medical records. Also look at the tax records, the medical records, Common Core, how they're data mining your kids. They're asking kids about guns in the house. We've talked about how they've had those homework assignments for medications. Well, what if it comes up some of these psychotropic drugs, anxiety medications, sleeping medications, what have you, are somehow in the family? And as we're going to get into it a little later, California has some gun laws. One of them has been out for a while, where a therapist could report you, and they will come and confiscate your firearms, because even if you're not the person with the malady in your home may not have access to those firearms. So I'm going to get into some of those cases, but this is very nefarious when you have a federal government that has their fingers into all these little areas of your life, especially now in the age of electronics. Why do you think the federal
something?
Required that medical records be kept electronically? There's a reason for that.
Let me ask you something, Suzanne. What does this do to doctor-patient privilege?
Well, first of all, there's not going to be one. But tell you ahead of time, before it came about, there was a duty for doctors to report an individual or patient that had an indication that they were likely to commit an unlawful act and harm somebody else, or to report them if they were a risk to themselves. So what I think is the biggest problem here is it's going to have a chilling effect on people seeking treatment. And that has shown, people, if they're having anxiety, they might not want to go and get some help. And that's my biggest concern. If you have a kid that is having trouble and you might not want to take them in, or if somebody in your family is having an issue, they might not want to seek help because you're going to get that knock on your door.
Anyone think that this does not, that this is not targeting specifically our veterans, when we know that they have been dealing with legislation over the last year, and there's been a lot of chatter in Washington, D.C. about the estimated number of veterans that commit suicide every day, yet he continues to say things, we can't allow people, we have to do something to stop people from harming themselves.
Well,
does
anyone
anyone
kill
not
them at VA to sure as heck, disarm them? The ones that can't go through the system, we can disarm. And I feel that way. That's saying that at all in any way to be funny or anything. I fully believe it. We can't kill them through the VA. We'll disarm them. We'll take care of one way or the other.
And
They're
Suzanne,
getting ends of the spectrum here. They're getting the younger ones with the schools when the
Yes.
records they're keeping, and they're going to get the VA. The VA, they're going to let them die off, and then
they're going to get the Social Security. And I've got news for you. It's going to be shared with welfare. You know, all these people that think they're on welfare think that right now it's not going to affect them. I'm going to tell you right now, it's going to. They're going to. It will expand to the point that if you are on welfare, you cannot have a weapon because you obviously can't handle your finances, or the government would have to be paying you.
Hey, Suzanne, you had brought it up. Are you going to talk about it more? Because Suzanne kind of went over it very quickly. The Social Security Administration is also involved in this boondoggle, isn't even the right word, but this massive bunch of fascism that was passed down today. The Social Security Administration is also involved.
They are indeed. They are going to be, and what people don't realize is that a lot of this crap started today.
Yes. Oh yeah, this isn't going to be down the road. This is immediately.
Exactly. Yes, and what they have done with the Social Security Administration is that anyone that the Social Security office, from what I'm understanding, what happens is if you have someone who is disabled to the point that they are incapable of handling their own finances, then someone else is, I guess, their benefactor. So what they're going to do immediately is anyone that is on disability or Social Security that has a benefactor, their name immediately goes to the FBI and ATF. Period.
Wow.
It's become criminal behavior to have some sort of a malady like that.
Yeah. Isn't that amazing?
So, I mean, that's how they're doing that. And guys, that's what they're going to be doing with your medical records. That is exactly what, and I'm going to even go one further. The IRS determines who does or does not have health insurance. I'm going to tell you this: if you don't have health insurance, they are going to classify you as being incapable of handling your finances. If you are incapable of handling your finances, then you are not eligible to own a weapon. And you know, I made a post this past week, and I really got lit up. I really did. I was so furious. I almost drove to Florida. Yes. I almost drove to Florida. I really did. It took everything I had to make myself realize that it's really the wrong weekend to do this. Anyway, but the thing is, you know, I go through the social media, and what I consistently hear is, oh, he's coming for guns. Well, he's not getting my guns. You know, when they come for my guns, you're going to see my house on the news. So I started responding with, okay, I'll wait to watch your place on the news. I mean, honestly, what else am I supposed to say? Because what you're saying, you moron, when you say that is, they're not coming for my guns first. I'm not going to put myself out there and say, I am a gun owner, I support the Second Amendment as it was written in the Bill of Rights, not your bastardized, lawless version. And I am going to stand with my brothers and sisters in this nation on both sides of the political aisle to hold on to that right. I'm going to hide away in my house. I'm going to hope that it doesn't happen. And
Hit my keyboard. Oh yeah, don't forget.
Exactly.
I'm going to tweet.
Yep.
And when everybody else around me is no longer armed or is in jail, then they'll come for my gun. And you know what? You know what we'll see then? We won't see your house on news. And if we do, it'll be like a sparkler from a 4th of July. Because they're going to throw in a flashbang You're going to be stunned stupid.
Yeah.
And they're going to come in and take your damn gun. So they're going to get it. They're just not getting yours first because you don't have the set to stand up for what you espouse.
Mm-hmm. Do people not forget? And all you have to do is look at your news every day. The feds and your local law enforcement are armed in some cases, I think, better than the military. And guess what? Unlike the military, when they're on the United States of America, military can't carry their guns. Well, gee, we know the feds and the local law enforcement do. They're better armed in many cases than the military when they're overseas in Afghanistan, Iraq, you name it. I mean, you think you're going to put up a fight against them? You all by your lonesome in your house? I mean, more power to you. Some of you might be pretty awesome, I don't know. Maybe you got a whole set of claymores surrounding your house or something, but short of that, good luck. And you don't think they're going to come in the middle of the night or something? I mean, come on.
Hey,
exactly.
That false bravado just
go ahead, Suzanne.
I wanted to expound upon some of the sentiments I've been reading on social media about gun owners, but I can wait till we get this caller. I see we have one on the line.
We do have a caller on the line. Yeah. Caller, what's your name and where are you calling from? And thank you so much for being so patient.
I'm Mike from Wyoming.
Mike
from Wyoming. I told Jose, I told you I'd call, so here I am.
Thank you, sir.
Howdy, neighbor.
I'm here because your good friend John that calls often. That's kind of how I came across you guys. Mm-hmm. So, yep. So what? I just calling to say hi, but I guess you guys are kind of on fire tonight. So
we are.
But I just I just came across. I remember Buffalo, New York, a few years back, maybe 2 years ago or so. So there was a big story about some registered gun owner passed away, I believe it was, and they actually raided his house, or I don't know if it was raided, but they confiscated his weapons after they wouldn't let the family hold on to him.
Well, go ahead, Mike.
If there's a federal database, I mean, that'd be the similar. I think didn't Obama say something along those lines today?
That is indeed.
Mm-hmm. You're right.
So
I'm not one to advocate lawless behavior, but I tell you what, if you've got an aging family member that knows that there's some things that need to be done with some firearms, you might just want to, hypothetically speaking, of course.
I'm just going to say it. You go ahead and be nice and legalese and all that crap. I'll take the brunt of this. Give it away to somebody else. Transfer ownership. Or break a window. Your shit just got stolen.
There you go.
Or a voting accident. Lots of people have those.
You can do like me. I mean, I don't know what happened. I went out in the middle of the Gulf of Mexico. I thought that I would shoot some snook while I'm out there, and concerned myself with bull shark attacks, and the boat tipped up in the 5-foot waves, and all my guns went overboard.
Mm-hmm. That's about right. I mean, we're gonna have to get creative here, folks. And I told you, the word for the night is civil disobedience. Pee Wee Playhouse. Pee Wee used to do this. You got the special word.
Oh,
civil
really?
Disobedience. Get to know it, folks, because you're living in it. You're going to have to live in it.
Well, the most interesting thing that nobody else took notice of either is Loretta Lynch standing up and saying, we are now going to enforce the registration process, and anyone failing to register their weapons will be prosecuted. Let me tell you something, Loretta Lynch witch.
She decides she wants to start enforcing laws.
In my state, you don't have to register anything.
No, you don't have to register anything.
Kiss
Mine
it.
either.
Kiss it.
Yeah. I mean, Loretta Lynch. I mean, seriously? Was it who confirmed her? Oh, gee, were there some Republicans involved in that? Sure, there were. She's Eric Holder, folks, except she doesn't have the afro, and she squats to pee. I mean, simply, that's what it is. It's more of the same crap. Where does she get her degree from? Her law degree? What is she known for? That now all of a sudden she's? I mean, seriously, folks, you better start thinking about this stuff. And we've been sold down the river by both parties, not just one. I'm not putting it all on one. And no way am I doing that.
We have another caller on the line. Caller, what's your name and where are you calling from?
Well, hello. This is Braveheart Columbus. I'm calling from Ohio.
Well, it's been a while from
It
Ohio.
has been.
Welcome.
I know. I missed you guys. Happy New Year.
Well,
To
we're
you
here
as
most of
well.
the time.
And I have been seeing some of your husband's posts of late, and gosh, I wish I was there.
I know. You guys need to come out. We're going to have some tactical training coming up in the spring, so you have to come on out and we can do some tactical drills.
Oh, I
Tell
would
you what,
love
people
to.
better take advantage of that.
Would absolutely love to. So what's on your mind, darling?
Well, I'm just really confused. I heard that Obama, our president, was crying on national television, and I've been at work all day. I'm actually driving home after a long day, and I want to know what this is all about. What are these executive orders? What happened? I missed it.
Well, that's what we've been discussing on the show. And as for him crying on television, it is physically impossible to cry from the outside of your eyes. We were talking about this prior to the show. However, King Caliph, being, what he is, the magician of all things, is able to cry from the outside of his eyes. Now, the fact that from 5 minutes into this news conference until the moment that he actually was able to start producing some tears from the outside edges of his eyes, he was constantly wiping at them, and that was something that I took particular note in when I reviewed the conference today. But I really believe that he puts some actor's gel on his eyes. Once it started, he was unable to stop.
Either that or he was laughing. And because of the way the tears were coming out the outside of the eyes instead of the inside, I'm still going to have that hypothesis that it's possible he was so beside himself doing this. Don't tell me. I mean, I could be wrong. But I'll tell you what, it's worth thinking about.
Well, I mean, I want any of our listeners, if you have ever cried and you've been able to produce tears from the outside of your eyes instead of the inside where the tear ducts are, then please call in and correct me, because I've never heard of it, ever.
Well, if he can talk out of both sides of his mouth, why can't he cry out the, middle of his eyes? It seems logical to me.
Okay, good. I'm glad you caught yourself there, Suzanne.
It's an anatomical.
But
probably a few of his anomalies.
But Bray Bart, we're going to answer your question real quick. I mean, we've kind of already recapped this, so I'm going to answer your question real quick. The things that he's done is, if you sell more than 2 guns a year, you have to have a license and you have to do background checks. He's going after guns that were placed in trust in corporations. He's making the 4473 more effective by adding 200 plus more ATF and FBI agents. He's to handle the background checks, the expanded background checks that he's implementing. He's going to be updating that background check system. He is demanding the enforcement of current laws, which comes in with Loretta Lynch saying, register your weapons, and if you don't, we're coming after you, screw you, witch. I'm not doing anything that you say. I don't care. I am civilly disobedient, and if that makes me a criminal, so be it. He's going to put more people on mental health. He wants to expand mental health, and he wants to prevent suicide. In doing so, he is asking Congress to allocate $500 million more to OCare to expand mental health and suicide prevention, in which the records will go to the FBI and BFTE for the purpose of making you ineligible to own a weapon. He is going to boost gun safety technology, and the government is now going to fund the research into technology that will allow a GPS tracker on all weapons sold, just like an iPad.
Hey, Breitbart, let me give it to you real quick. he basically wiped his rear end with the Constitution of the United States of America, saying all the while that he knows better, of course, because he's a constitutional teacher, a scholar, not a scholar. He said, what did he say? Constitutional
professor.
He taught constitutional law. That's his exact words.
He referred to it as that paper. So that's all you need to know. Everything else you'll figure out. Believe me. Come after you and they'll find you.
God.
So, and I'm not.
His exact words were, I taught constitutional law, therefore I know something about this.
Right.
What he knows is how to
So
circumvent it, is how to twist the words around, and like you said, to cloak his ambitions in something that will make you feel good. It's health care. It's not a government takeover of health care industry. It is common sense gun safety. It's not gun control, gun confiscation and direct contravention of the Constitution, which he proclaims to know about. But he's always put this document in terms of something that is a hindrance to him. He said that Americans, in his opinion, shouldn't be allowed to own guns, but the Constitution stands in the way of his agenda. And remember when he said that the Constitution also he was I think hobbled, or whatever the word was. He was somehow hindered by a document that the founding fathers put into place that would infringe upon his ability to redistribute wealth. So this has never been a document that he had any intention of honoring the oath he took to uphold. He came into this office with the stated ambition of dismantling it and our system of federalism that the founding fathers put in place. He never had any intention of honoring it, like I said.
Absolutely
and our
right.
Congress has been complicit in allowing him to get away with this. And I guarantee any new funding that these executive orders may require will be handed over to him on a silver platter by our Republican
I have
House
no
and
doubt
Senate.
of that. And one of the interesting things that you just said is was his correlations today when in his news conference. He equated what he was doing here with, we all know we have freedom of speech. We all know about the First Amendment. But basically what we're doing here is the same thing we've done with that. You have free speech. You just can't go into a movie theater and yell fire. No, that is not the correct correlation. Suzanne, we've got, before, number one, Breitbart. Love you, darling.
Yes.
Anything else on your mind?
Love you too. No, just that I'm really happy that you guys answered my call, and you guys have a great rest of the evening, and I'll try to be more current and stay up with you guys on the show.
Well,
for listening.
Please do, yeah.
We love it that you listen, darling, and we love you and
we
your
do.
hubby, and just y'all keep doing what you're doing. It's fantastic.
Right.
All right, Mullen Lady.
That amen to that. Amen to that. All right. Suzanne, we have before I take this other caller that we have, and thank you for all the calls that we're getting tonight. That's fantastic.
Wow. Awesome.
But before I take that call, I am going to direct something to Suzanne. Suzanne, we have a chatter online that's asking, do you think there's any chance the courts strike down these executive orders?
Well, first of all, who's going to challenge them? I guess the NRA has already threatened to go about the. I seriously doubt it. Not when you see who's sitting on the court right now. We have had the Heller case, but subsequent to Heller, Sotomayor, who promised under the confirmation hearings that she would honor Supreme Court precedents. That the first thing she went and did was go against it. So she was never impeached, as she should have been. And I really don't look to the Supreme Court as a remedy for this. What should be happening is an impeachment proceeding if he tries to implement these executive orders. They are illegal. They are unconstitutional, and Congress is the appropriate remedy here.
Suzanne, some of them went into effect today. Some of them
This
began
soon,
implementation today. Guys,
So
we've got a
obviously
lot of
tomorrow morning
callers
the
on the line.
impeachment proceedings will start, correct?
One would
Right.
hope.
Oh, yeah. Okay. Are you having a dream right now, or a fantasy, or something? and wasn't it? Didn't I? Now we've got tons of callers we got to get to. First of all, I wanted to say thank you to Mike. We never said thank you to him. He was just gone. Mike from Wyoming. Thank you for calling. You were the first caller of 2016, whatever dubious distinction that is here on the show. But wasn't it Wayne LaPierre today for the NRA saying, well, if it wasn't for the NRA, we wouldn't have the Form 4473 in the first place? Yes, Wayne, you're part of the problem. I don't like the NRA. I guess they may have a fight. Maybe they'll step up this time. I prefer Gun Owners of America. That's my personal thing. That's not from the show. But Wayne LaPierre sitting there touting the 4473. That's the first thing that went into effect to help track all of our gun sales, Wayne. Thanks a lot, pal.
Amen to that.
The NRA
Amen to that.
With, is what brought the incorporation doctrine, incorporated the Second Amendment upon the states. Now, like it or not, the Bill of Rights the Founding Fathers had no intention of applying the Bill of Rights to the states. So when we have a state law, up till now, we've been talking about federal laws. When we have a state law that infringes upon our right to bear arms, that is a state's issue. That's why we have something called the 10th Amendment. The Bill of Rights, if you read the preamble, even says it's only there. These are in existence to make sure there is no confusion about the intent of the Constitution. They expressed a desire in order to prevent misconstruction or abuse of powers that further declaratory and restrictive clauses should be added. And then we go through the amendments. And the Second Amendment absolutely prohibits the federal government, Congress, from infringing upon the right to keep and bear arms. Now we have something also. So now, if it's prohibited to the federal government, then the state governments have the right to have legislation vis-a-vis firearms. Mm-hmm. That is also reiterated in the 10th Amendment. So we have all these issues. If we're going to get involved now with the states and these gun control issues coming down from federal edict, like these executive orders, I would see a better remedy would be nullification, where they just refuse to acknowledge, according to Thomas Jefferson, laws that came about in contravention to the Constitution were without effect. They were non-void.
Exactly. Guys, we are loaded with callers. Gosh, we're just loving this tonight.
This is fun. I never have callers.
I mean, no kidding. And we've got Andrew on the line. Andrew, where are you calling from, and what's on your mind tonight?
Hi, V. It's Andrew. I'm calling from Pennsylvania.
Hi, Andrew.
Hey, how's it going, Suzanne?
What's on your mind, darling?
Yeah, actually, Suzanne kind of just stole my thunder, which is all right. My thought process is...
It's only fair.
They're coming at this thing from a good-bad perspective, not a constitutional, unconstitutional perspective.
Amen.
They're selling it to us as common sense. These are all good things. Therefore, if you don't agree with us, you're part of the problem. You're bad.
Right.
My preference yeah, exactly. My preference would be that they would come at everything first from a constitutional, unconstitutional perspective and recognize that a thing can be both good and unconstitutional. And when it is, it's an issue that belongs, as Suzanne just said, to the states and to the people, not to the federal government.
Yes.
Amen to that.
But this administration believes that everything has to be a federal solution, that we can't have different rules and regulations within the 50 states as our founders envisioned that we should.
They didn't want it in 13.
Yeah, exactly.
Well,
they wanted the states to be the laboratories of democracy, I believe is the terminology that was used. And if it was 50 different sets of rules on guns, so be it. We then have the ability to look at 50 different sets of rules on guns and see which are the most effective. And states can teach each other and then adopt the best of all worlds. But instead, we force these cookie-cutter, unconstitutional federal solutions on the whole country because one guy sitting in Washington says, this is common sense, this is good, and therefore, if I can't get 535 people to agree with me that this is good, I'm going to use my pen and my phone, and I'm going to I'm going to force it on everybody.
You're absolutely right, Andrew. Andrew, I'm going to ask you to hold on for just a moment.
Sure.
I need to make a request of all our other callers. Please be patient. We have a lot of callers on the line.
Oh, man.
Please be patient. We will get to you in the order that you came in. I promise.
Yes. And I wanted to just say, too, from a listener... From a listener in Florida, a listener in Florida just responded, nullification is the remedy for this deprecation of the guarantees constitutionally provided. So there you go. That's
Absolutely. Andrew, anything else, darling?
Yes. Nope, you guys are nailing it tonight. Thank you very much. I appreciate it.
Thank you,
Thank
Andrew.
you for calling in.
All right, have a good one.
You
All right,
too.
Take
Sir,
care.
you too.
I love
All right.
Andrew.
He's a great guy. Absolute great guy. Just
Smart as a whip.
Absolutely
Yes.
wonderful. Okay, we have Steve on the line. Steve, what is your name? And I mean, where are you calling from? And
What are you
what's
wearing?
on your mind? Steve, are you with us?
Not anymore.
Yeah, somebody might have gone now. So
Steve? Okay.
he's gone.
We're going to assume that Steve is gone, and he is welcome to call us back.
Yes,
We
just be
encourage
patient,
that. John, where are you calling from, and what's on your mind?
I'm calling from Dallas, Texas, and there basically answered the question that I wanted to ask. Like, are the courts going to stop this? You know what I mean?
Well, I don't think the court should have to. In all honesty, I think that we have 535 individuals up there that should stand up, regardless of political affiliation, and stop this politicalization of our rights in this country. And if not, our state governors have the power to stand up and unite and say enough. If Moonbeam Brown and Bloomberg want to do whatever they want to do in their states, that's between them and the citizens of their states. Don't bring that crap to mine.
Mm-hmm. Agreed.
Right.
I'm going to address
Right.
that
Now,
issue
look-
later on when I talk about that California case, by the way.
Absolutely.
Yeah, my state's not going to abide by it as far as I know. I know this state I'm in now isn't going to. Arizona's not going to. But yeah, no, I think you're right. You know what I mean? Congress is really has to do something to this guy. I mean, he should be in perpetual impeachment. And if the Senate doesn't remove him, just keep going down the line. I mean, he's done so much. Just keep him in perpetual impeachment the rest of his term and plug the government up. And just show the guy, you know, he's not a dictator. Of course, we're going to get the usual.
Well, they're not going to do that. Impeachment is not even going to do it. If they were going to do
that's
that,
not
they could have the groundwork for them to have nullified his presidency was in 2013 when one of the members of the Democratic National Committee and a member of the Board of Elections pled guilty to the charges that they illegally had him placed on the ballot in the state of Illinois.
Mm-hmm.
That should have been all there. I mean, not Illinois, Indiana. That should have been all that it was required. When he was deemed to have not even been eligible to have been on the ballot, there should have been an investigation in every other state that put him on the ballot. And when it was found that he did not indeed have enough states to have gotten the numbers necessary to have confirmed him as the President of the United States, his stand should have been nullified right then. And they have not done it.
Had he been a white Republican.
I was just gonna say,
damn right.
As long as Barack Hussein Obama has pigmentation immunity, and make no mistake, folks, that's what he has, pigmentation immunity, nothing will ever happen to him in office or out of office.
No
Mark
white
my words,
Republican
I just
could
said
have
it.
gotten away with what he's done.
I just
Not
said
a
it.
single one.
It will never happen. Don't put your hopes on he's going to be in jail if so-and-so is the president. Trump or whoever.
No.
He's
No, he's not.
He's not
He's
going
never
to
gonna
prison.
see jail.
Nobody's going to prison. He's got pigmentation immunity.
Hillary Clinton is not going to jail.
Hillary Clinton
Barack Obama is not going to jail.
Folks, you're not going to do anything about that. Stop saying it.
Amen to that. John, is there anything else on your mind?
No, that's about it. I would end on my normal note, but we're not talking about that tonight. We have more important things to talk about.
Yeah,
I love you guys, and believe it or not, I think I am actually out of here. So I will talk to you all soon on social media, and have a good night, and civil disobedience. Take care.
Yes,
you
sir.
too, John. You be safe,
Thanks,
and thank you
John.
so much for the call.
I would. Oh, you're welcome. Bye.
Good night.
Take care. Yep.
All right, and then we have another caller. Caller, what is your name and where are you calling from?
I guess it's my turn. Vladimir?
Yep. Vladimir?
It is.
Yep.
I'm in Illinois. Just came from vacation in Texas, so I'm a little bit, I'll just read my statement, okay?
Okay.
Very good.
Facebook, because I don't even have much time. So my statement is here. I lived in a police state, communist dictatorship before in Czechoslovakia. The criminals often used guns there, and I wondered how and where they got those guns, as it was illegal for everyone to own them. The socialist regime generally didn't work well, but what it excelled in was the police harassment, control, and snooping. Perhaps you can say I lived in your future. Tyranny where citizens have lost any reasonable means to defend themselves. So that's the statement. Any questions?
Vladimir, let me first introduce you briefly to the crowd listening in tonight, and thank you to all of you that are listening to the Whiskey Tango Foxtrot show, and to V and Suzanne. Vladimir is actively involved with Overpasses for America in Illinois, like he said. I had the pleasure of meeting this gentleman. Like he said, he's from Czechoslovakia when it was communist, and he takes pictures. He was we were on the expressway right where Illinois changes, the state line goes into Wisconsin. We were there with Ron and his wife, Kathy, from Wisconsin. Great people. And Vladimir was there taking pictures. He's an amazing photographer, but that's how I came to know him one hot day this summer when I was over there on vacation. So that's a little bit of background on Vladimir. An amazing man, great patriot. I wanted him to call in and read that statement because, folks, he's from a communist dictatorship. He's lived in it, and he sees it coming. And many, many others do, too. And that's why his message is so important.
Suzanne?
Yeah, that's correct. Exactly how we met. Thank you.
Yes, sir. No, my pleasure. Thank you.
Suzanne?
Yeah, imagine what it must be to go to the effort to get here and escape something like that, and to come to a country where you can arm yourself and protect your family and not have to be a sitting unwitting victim, and then to see that slip away from you. And I honestly think a lot of these people that come to this country appreciate our rights more than many Americans do. I think we take it for granted and don't really understand how quickly they're slipping away and what life will be like, because these people have experienced it. So I really appreciate his call.
Yes. Like I said, great guy.
Vladimir, thank you very much for calling and sharing that with us.
Mm-hmm.
Thanks for your patient listening.
Thank you, Vladimir.
Nice show. Thanks. Bye.
Thank you.
Have a
Good
great
night.
night. Yeah, so there we
Once
go, folks.
again, we are so thankful for all the calls we're getting tonight and all that participation. We love this. I've never had that many people on our phone lines at one time before.
This is amazing. I guess we need to take a week off once in a while.
It's like we can feel the love coming through the lines, and we know that people are listening. I mean, I was talking to a lady cutting my hair today, and she said, "How's the radio show going?" And I told her it's going good. I said, I told her this exactly, folks. This is how I described it. We know there's people listening because they call in from all areas. We've had Wyoming tonight. We've had all over the place tonight. And I said, otherwise, you just wonder, I'm sitting down here in my bunker. You wonder if you're just talking to the wall, or if V and I are just talking to each other. Or when Suzanne's here, we're having this three-way conversation. But when people call or they're chatting with us on social media, you feel like you're doing something. You're giving a voice to these people, and also these people can call in and give their very own voice. We try to put everybody on. So I'm amazed by it. I'm humbled. Thank you.
Amen to that. Well, we're going to get back on our topic here. Of course, Suzanne, you wanted to talk about some things tying in some of the expansions that have gone on in California. And when I say that, their new ability to, if your ex-boyfriend doesn't like you and he knows you have a gun, he can call in and say you're a danger to yourself and others, and he fears for you. So they've expanded that. Or if your mother-in-law, you didn't like her Christmas pie, and that's going to come back and bite you on the ass. She doesn't like the way that you treat her son. Guess what? Oh, your kid? Did you actually spank your child? Or did you really say something to the neighbor for parking in your driveway? Oh, wow. You bastard. Suzanne. And we're back live, guys. We apologize for any inconvenience that you guys may have had. Please refresh your browsers, and you will pick our show up where we live. For some reason, we got booted off air, and fortunately, we were able to regain control of that. Will you guys please notify our social network?
Here after the shooting where teenager Elliot Rodger went on a rampage near University of California. At that time, he killed 6 people, including himself, and his parents, who were apparently, from what I understand, very left-wing family. And we were mentioning before we got kicked off the air, I don't know if it was on or not, that you just don't see these kind of shootings happening with conservative, patriotic families. It's just not happening. But be that as it may, his parents had reported him to the police prior to the shooting as they were concerned about his mental health and rants that he had posted online. Police had met with him and decided that he was not a criminal risk and didn't search his apartment. And apparently in that apartment, he was stockpiling weapons and ammunition, at which point I kind of wondered what they consider stockpiling, and a lot of us would probably find that embarrassing if we had.
Right.
Anyway, so this law is somehow intended to stop this situation from happening again. So a judge now has the power to grant a restraining order telling police to seize an individual's guns based solely on accounts from family members or police that a person apparently poses an imminent danger to others. And this order can be granted. It's essentially an ex parte hearing. The person won't even know until they're served with this order. So factors that the judge can consider in granting this order include not only threats of violence, prior felony arrests, evidence of alcohol abuse, and here's what's really scary, even the simple act of recently purchased a gun or ammunition. Let's say this law had been in effect and a judge heard the same testimony or evidence that the police officers had heard. And even then, and he agreed with them and didn't take the firearms away. And we still had this. That could happen. Let's say the person is a danger. What's to stop him from using something else? This is, once again, a feel-good law that is a knee-jerk reaction to a specific event that isn't going to be of any use or prevent this. So they can use the restraining order to confiscate the person's gun. I don't know. What are your thoughts on this, Senor?
You want to know what my
run with it.
Yeah, you want to know what my thoughts are on this?
Yes, we do.
If somebody,
we're gonna hear them anyway.
You know you are. Fact of the matter is, what part of shall not be infringed? You know, all of this feel-good crap. You know, that's part of what King Caliph was saying today in his press conference. All of these criminals are buying their guns offline. No, they're not. Because to purchase a gun offline, it has to be sent to an FFL, where you have to go and pick it up and get a background check.
Right.
So it's BS, and let's look at something else here that he's going to do. That is going to be expanded to gun parts. Don't get it twisted, folks. And it's going to be expanded to ammunition. Don't get it twisted, folks. But as for this, it is a feel-good measure. What it's saying is, oh, well, people that can hurt me or people that might be bad, well, they won't be able to have guns. And since I don't like guns anyway, or I don't own a gun, it really has no effect on me.
Well,
I just don't want to be hurt by a gun.
That's why they get away with this. This is about gun confiscation. This has nothing to do with people being safe, because I tell you what, if these people are that dangerous, you're going to actually send officers over to their house to collect guns. Or what's to stop them from using a knife? What's to stop them from running down that person with a car or using a hammer, a blunt object, anything else? This is about gun confiscation. They're casting a wide net. It's more of this, let's look at the person's mental health. I have a better idea. Why don't we focus on the people that are actually using guns to commit crimes?
Well, exactly, and that is what they should be doing, because not even guns. If somebody is going to use a weapon to hurt somebody, maybe we should put them away for, I don't know, let's see, how 120 days, little
They have a
affluent.
72-hour hold. If somebody's that much of a danger, they're going to be involuntarily committed. So if somebody is in such an imminent risk of hurting another individual, the proper redress is to put them in confinement, and that's where you examine their mental state. But that doesn't accomplish their agenda, which is grabbing these guns. And I want to back up. When you mentioned the Second Amendment, remember now, this was not intended to apply to California. Now, we all know about the incorporation doctrine and the 14th Amendment. I disagree with that. I prefer to stick to a purist argument where the state can really regulate guns in any manner they want. So instead of going to a constitutional argument to defeat this, what I would rather do is go to the purpose and what their true agenda is, and argue the fact that this is not going to solve or prevent any crimes from happening. Once again, their interest is not keeping the people safe. Their interest is getting the guns out of the hands of the citizens of California, because the state of California does not want them having them. Here's an example. I had mentioned a few times earlier about the husband whose wife was she had a mental health visit, and she was being treated, and his guns were confiscated. I know we're short on time. We probably have a lot of callers too, but we're going to just quickly give you the details. A woman purchased a firearm, given it to her husband as a gift. He also had two. All of these were purchased legally. She went for a mental health visit as a result of some side effects from medications that were affecting her emotional ability. She said she kept crying. Well, it turned out that the police showed up at the door and confiscated the guns because they didn't want somebody with a mental illness to even have access to the guns, because again, they're concerned about keeping guns away from, quote, crazy people.
I've got one better for you. I've got one. Wait just a minute, Suzanne.
They waited 3 months to get her guns.
Wait a minute. I've got one better for you guys. If you guys want to think about something for a minute on the implications of innocence yet being classified. My stepsister was in a car accident. She was in a very, very terrible car accident. And she was put into a drug-induced coma for a little over a month, I do believe. During that time, they did not know that she had a thyroid imbalance. Now, according to the doctors, if your thyroid is way out of whack, it will affect you mentally. Think about this, guys. Wait a minute. Are you a mental case because you have a thyroid problem? I'm going to tell you where this went. She had not had her medicine for quite some time. So when she came out of this drug-induced coma, she was wacko. Absolutely wacko. I'm not even gonna, excuse it as being anything else. They moved her to the mental health ward, where she stayed for over a week until somebody looked at her medical charts and realized she was supposed to be on thyroid medication. That is how easy it is. Now,
has that label stayed with her? Is she now a member of a prohibited class?
Exactly. Is she? I don't know. I don't know, but she spent a week in a mental ward because they screwed up at the hospital and did not give her her medicine when it was clearly in her chart.
And here's the thing. If she doesn't know, and let's say she tries to purchase a firearm, she becomes a felon by virtue of attempting to purchase a firearm when she's a member of a prohibited class. I had that happen to somebody else. A part of a plea agreement was that they were not supposed to have firearms, and he tried to buy a shotgun. And sure enough, he ended up going to jail over that. And it's interesting, this new California law is focused on handguns, and you're going to love this one, assault weapons. So I guess this presupposes the fact that shotguns are never used in any kind of violence. So I mean, again, this goes after the easy targets. It's easy to pick on the handguns, which are only for killing. It's easy to pick on the military assault weapons. There's no use for having those. You don't need those for deer. So again, they pick off the easy targets. But again, it's only going to get worse. They're never going to lighten up on these restrictions. They just get worse. But once again, you had also mentioned New York. Now, New York is just coming out with an ammo ban or a limitation. You can buy twice the capacity of your magazine per firearm every 90 days. Well, they've limited it to 10 rounds on magazines. So theoretically, 20 rounds every 3 months. I've taken firearms classes where we've gone through 300 rounds in 2 days.
I agree with that. Absolutely. I've gone through 300 rounds in an afternoon. I mean, in all honesty.
You shoot 22s. I mean, you go through that in no time at all.
But I'm going to tell you something else interesting about New York that just came out yesterday, and that is their police force just ordered like 450 new assault weapons. Now, why would a city
that they classify as an assault weapon?
Well, militarized type. But why would a city who has so limited its citizenry of having weapons that could harm them need militarized weapons?
Because of all the criminals that haven't obeyed the gun laws.
And how many gun laws do we have on the books that aren't being enforced? How many more do we need? I mean, how many are being ignored? A listener earlier was chatting with me and asking me that question. Think about that. How many of thousands upon thousands are there already that are ignored daily?
Wait a minute. Let's look at this too. As they are making these moves to disarm us, just a moment. BLM has weapons. IRS has weapons.
Yes.
Department of Education has weapons. Department
Food
of
and
Labor,
Agriculture, FDA,
the
Social Security,
Social Security,
USDA,
NOAA,
IRS,
the National Organization of National Geographic Organization. NOAA has. They have given them to NASA. NASA's not even supposed to exist anymore.
Right. Yeah, we hitch rides into space with the Russians, so...
All of these departments are getting armed, and they are being well supplied with ammunition. Yet, our military cannot carry their weapons on base, on post.
Think about that for a second.
And the rest of us are to be disarmed. They are pushing this mental health aspect, which I could sell. I could totally sell it to some of the smartest people I know. I really could sell health requirement.
Right.
However, knowing that I
Right.
could sell it makes me understand why it's no good and how it could be utilized. Now, it's all well and good to say, well, they won't do that. It's being limited here. What in God's name in the government has ever stopped where it initially started? Those taxes. What about your Social Security payment?
Which is supposed to be voluntary, by the way.
I mean, let's look at everything. Name me one damn thing that the government has ever done that stopped its power into your life. And I'm going to tell you something else today. Guys, you think, okay, it's not any big deal because it's really not going to affect me. I'm 50, I'm 60, I'm 70. It's not going to have any big impact. Let me make it clear to you. King Caliph said today in his... And again, for some reason, we got booted off air and we are back live. Please, again, refresh your browsers. We apologize. Oh Lord, I don't know what's going on tonight. We've never been booted off air consistently.
We're doing something right.
You can't help but think that. You really cannot help but think that. So anyway, you were saying, Suzanne.
I think you were talking when we left off.
Yeah, you were talking, V.
Oh, okay. well, now I don't remember what I was talking about because then I had to stop and fix things.
Well, let me just, of course, the theme of the theme of the night seems to be about guns and stuff. And let me tell you what a listener is just wrote on social media, and this will get us back on track. But think about this: he's got a picture of a girl, ostensibly his daughter, but I'm not going to say that. She's holding an AR-15, and he basically said that he is going to have her make one scratch, and the heck with Obama and all of his orders and his rules and his minions and all of that. Because folks, you can make your own AR-15 from scratch at home if you don't know how. Go to YouTube, type something like that in, or in the Google machine on the internet, and see what happens. But good for him. I love to see this from people. You know what? Thumb your nose at them. Civil disobedience. Build your own AR-15s. Build 2 of them. Build 3. Build 4.
And once again, we apologize. We're getting kicked off air, and we have no idea why. We have never had this many times of being booted off air in a single night, ever. Once, yes. Like this, never. Senor?
No, this is something altogether different.
Unbelievable. Suzanne, you were saying...
Yeah, okay, a couple of things that Obama said today, or one of his little spoke people. Even if the executive orders stop 1 or 2 shootings, that they will be worth it. They have to know that, first of all, you're never going to know if it stops 1 or 2 of these shootings. The second is, there's no way that they can. They're designed to fail because they don't focus on the criminal element. They focus on law-abiding citizens. The criminal element will never go along with these orders, and that won't apply to them. The vast majority of them don't need background checks because they steal their firearms or just pass them unlawfully from one to the other. So this is designed to fail, which means we only have more draconian measures coming down the pike. And this is why he will now be able to say, well, we exercised some common sense, reasonable measures. I tried to play fair, y'all. We tried to do this. We tried to listen to the NRA. We tried to honor your Second Amendment rights, but that didn't work. I'm sick of it. I've had enough. He's already used that terminology. I've had enough. He's had enough. It's about him 76 times in 3 minutes. I. It's all about him.
Yes.
So just like healthcare, the ACA is designed to fail. It cannot help but fail. That's paving the way to a single payer system. That's their intention anyway. The intention for these nonsensical laws or executive decree that has absolutely no legal effect, it doesn't change anything that's already being done. It's going to fail, and look for something far more serious coming up. That's my prediction. We don't have a gun violence problem. We have a gun violence perception problem. It's fostered by politicians who refuse to respect our rights. Look at Holder. We must brainwash people against guns. It's also fostered by the liberal anti-gun media who chooses to focus on gun violence-related stories, placing blame on anyone but the perpetrator. It's going to be our fault for having guns that they can steal, or it's going to be somebody else's fault. They cast a wide net like they did in California, knowing full well that the only victims of this harvest is going to be, first of all, those attempting to abide by the law. Second, those that are rendered defenseless by those in the first group or who are victimized by criminals who can roam freely among a disarmed populace. Any genuine conversation about stopping or preventing gun violence must focus on criminal behavior, not criminal behavior or criminal actions that are deemed to be because of a legislative act, meaning purchasing a firearm outside of an FFL. But they have to focus on criminal behavior that is inherently evil, not that has been decreed evil.
Today, King Caliph, during his press conferences, did you guys know that on one website alone, 1 in 30 people were not eligible to buy a weapon because of prior criminal behavior, whether that be...
Then they did their job.
Wait a minute. He goes, whether they be a domestic violence or a robbery or a break-in, wait a minute. Dude, I didn't hear you say they raped anybody. Pedophilia. A bank robbery, so basically what you're saying is people like your son, Sweet Swisher Brown, and St. Trayvon of Skittles would not be eligible to buy a gun? I'm just saying.
And here's something interesting, not along those lines, but something on social media. I can't verify this. If you're out there listening and if you're a veteran, you may know. It sounds like it's just now happening. Somebody posted that 4 vets just called her today and told her that they must now report to government IRS their veterans benefits, and they are all getting notified by letter. So now they're all part of the Obamacare Affordable Care Act. They'll get a Form 1095B for veterans benefits. Wow. Does this make sense?
No, it did not.
No.
So can you explain it, please?
If they have veterans benefits, they have to report to the government IRS. They'll get a notification by letter. And she's saying now they're part of the Obamacare Affordable Care Act, and it's a Form 1095B. That's all I'm getting right now. Just something that apparently.
So
it's
how
not
does
good.
how does that work with their VA benefits? Because they go through the VA because the VA tracks them because they
That's
have
what
a
I don't
percentage
understand.
of disability.
She's telling me to call her, but obviously I can't do that, so I'll ask her to call.
So we'll have to
Michelle,
discuss
if you
that
will.
tomorrow night.
Yeah, she should call Michelle.
Some of the other things that we were going to discuss. Now, tomorrow night is not going to be a typical What the F Wednesday. I'm going to go ahead and lay that out there because
V?
there were... Huh?
Hold on just a second. Somebody else is saying they will now pay taxes on veterans benefits.
Wow, of course they will.
That's what somebody else just posted regarding this. So I once again, it's just this is very fluid. That would make sense that they need a form, the 1095B that they're calling it. Interesting.
Well,
And can
we're
you
gonna
imagine?
cover this in depth tomorrow night.
Yes,
in
we
addition, tomorrow night we're going to be talking about the Hammonds and what's going on in Oregon and how that got started. We know that the media has put a lot of information out there, trying to demonize, and there's no reason to demonize, but we're going to get into because a lot of people out there have an opinion on this whole scenario, and we're going to kind of lay it out there from start to to finish with the Hammond family and the Oregon situation. We were going to get into that tonight, but of course, King Caliph provided other information that we needed to discuss tonight. In addition, the Senor tomorrow will find out more information about what's going on here with the VA benefits, and we will be bringing you an updated information on that. In addition to that, tomorrow night, I want to talk about the new legislation that they're talking about passing to not repeal, but rather to replace Obamacare. They're talking about it. Will they get the numbers? And what exactly is that all about? We're going to talk about that tomorrow night as well. So tomorrow night will not be our typical What the F Wednesday. It will be a little different than normal, but we know that you won't want to miss it. Senor.
Well, one of our listeners is just sending. I love you guys. I'm going to be honest with you. Here's what he said: the FBI is spending millions of dollars investigating bacon on mosques, their doorways.
Oh, yeah.
People have been doing that, and in halal food cases in grocery store. Next thing you know, we'll have to register our pork products.
That's
infidel
funny.
to the end, boys and girls.
That is funny.
Wow.
Suzanne?
No, I think I think tonight I don't see where we could have cut off and gone over to the Hammond incident. Maybe next week when I come on, we'll go into a little bit of the historical backdrop for how the BLM came to be, this unconstitutional ABC agency. And by then I'll have gotten a little bit more up to speed because it's actually very interesting and it's something I think we should pursue some more.
Agreed.
Absolutely,
Yeah, the whole
absolutely.
Oregon
Well,
thing,
I
yeah.
don't think that this is going anywhere anytime soon. I don't think either side is itching for a big enough fight. Yeah, at this particular point in time, that is my hope. My prayers are with everybody in the area. But again, we're going to discuss that tomorrow night. God, the night has flown by. Do you guys realize we're almost out of time?
This does not compute. It's just,
And
I'm just
how
looking
in the
down, I was like,
world?
what?
How in the world did we get kicked off air 3 times tonight?
Like I said, we're saying something right. We're striking a chord with someone out there.
And,
and we're all people
last
that call
night, I'll own it. Last night, it was all about me because, for those of you out there who don't know, unfortunately, somebody's got to produce the show, and that kind of falls in my lap. And so last night, we were having issues with our production software, and we were not able to get on air. However, that has been 100% resolved. So it has absolutely nothing to do with us getting booted off air tonight. And we have been booted off air before when we've had controversial conversations. It's funny because it usually happens during conversations that are considered controversial.
I'm surprised it doesn't happen more often then.
Right.
Well, we are too,
Like nightly?
actually. But we've never gotten kicked off more than once a night.
Well, and it bears repeating, and I think this is as good a time as any, folks. If you lose us during the show and you know that we've been broadcasting with you and we're live, just keep hitting the refresh and give us a little bit to figure it out. It's frustrating, sure, we know that, and we understand it happens to us, too, when we're doing things online. But that's part of online and the internet broadcasting. So just remember, keep hitting refresh, and God willing, we'll be right back with you, and we'll just continue where we left off. So please
And I'd
bear
like
with
to
us when
remind you,
that
too,
happens.
that if for some reason we are not able to gain air back, if something occurs with servers, which we've had occur,
It has.
twice that we went on air, we got booted off, and something was going on with the servers, and we could not regain air. We will post that information on our Facebook page, WTF, the Whiskey Tango Foxtrot Show, and we will get that information out to you as quickly as we possibly can. Of course, we are going to try to take, the opportunity to get back on air for you, but if we deem that it's impossible, that it is not going to happen, we will make that post in the social media.
Yeah, I got a quick comment too. I wanted to just wrap something up, a thought about, the states and their 10th Amendment rights to legislate with regards to guns as they see fit. And, one of the things I've always said is, look, if you don't like the way your states are coming up with these gun laws and you cannot effectuate a change, then vote with your feet and go to a state that has laws more to your liking. It really is the state's business. But the problem is when you have somebody like the California Attorney General Kamala Harris, some states cannot keep their filth within their sovereign borders. For instance, what she says with regards to the confiscation of guns in California, what do we do about the guns that are already in the hands of persons who by law are considered too dangerous to possess them? Now, meaning here she's referring to people that have lawfully purchased firearms, and then subsequent to that, there's an event that makes them too dangerous because they're going to be cross-checked in the database. What you won't be seeing will be those that have stolen guns, those that have guns that have not recorded. In other words, the criminals. So she addressed this matter in a letter to Vice President Joe Biden, and she recommended that the White House review gun policy and consider California as a national model. With regards to Virginia, who's just recently reneged on reciprocity with, I think, 28 states or 26. People are now coming at that with the wrong argument, saying, well, look, now we need a national standard. And we've discussed this on the air before, too. It's like, do you really think if the federal government gets involved with any national standard that it's going to emulate that of California or that of Utah or Arizona and Wyoming? I guarantee that if these people go for what they call the national right to carry law, which is also unconstitutional, by the way, they will be sorely disappointed.
I agree. I agree with that. Yeah, California, I mean, the nanny state, bring as many illegals as you can into that state. And I know there's people that can't get out of there. I'm thinking of one in particular, her and her husband, that we're all familiar with on the show. And they simply can't at this point. But I'll tell you what, folks, it's not going to get any better. And, of course, there's not going to be any significant change, any fundamental transformation in their state and local governments, to be sure. So I don't know. If you're in California, you're in a world of hurt. There's no doubt about it. Although the rest of us in flyover country from the East Coast over to California, north and south, not doing much better either. So, I mean, it's just, I don't know. I mean, look at Texas, too. They're making lots of inroads in Texas. How many hundreds of mosques are in Texas? Austin, all these other cities. The mayor of Dallas came out today, something about pro-gun control and stuff. I mean, what the heck? What is going on?
Didn't that blow your mind? Didn't that blow your mind?
Just amazing. I mean, this is Texas, folks. You guys are supposed to be the last bastion of hope for the rest of us in the other 56 states. Seriously, what is going on in Texas? So.
It's a border state, and look what comes across the border, and look how they vote. When I was deciding to make my escape from California, Stan, Texas was one of the states I gave serious consideration in which to move. And I looked at the border. I looked at Julian Castro, who's now our head of HUD, and you see what's going on. Look at Austin. Look at San Antonio. And I said, no, Texas is lost. I will not move to a border state. I think it's only a matter of time for the rest of this country, unless we get very serious, because Twitter and Facebook are not going to refresh the tree of liberty.
Amen to
but
that.
It's not going to happen in a state that's going to be lost. California is already behind enemy lines, and Texas will be too. Sure. And you had mentioned earlier that a lot of gun owners are also okay with many of these laws. And on social media, I've been not just reading the articles, but a lot of the commentary, and it's mind-blowing. People saying, I own many guns myself, and he said, I don't think anybody should have assault weapons. Another one said, I have guns, and I firmly believe that there should be a serial number tracked to every ammo you want to purchase. So now you go there with your ammo or your serial number, and you have to buy that ammo. And don't you think they're not going to keep these serial numbers? Once again, backdoor de facto gun registration. And these people are stupid enough to go for it. I had somebody tell me in California, 10-day waiting period. That's not a big deal. Oh, yes, it is. Mm-hmm. It is a slippery slope, and they will see what they can get away with. What's going to be not a big deal next? A ban on assault rifles? Oh my gosh, we're out of time.
Yes, we are.
We are. Yes.
We should get credit for the time we were off the air.
We should, but unfortunately other programs follow ours.
Yeah.
So anyway, guys, make sure you stick around with Patriot Network News at pnntalkradio.com. Follow us on our social media at WTF, the Whiskey Tango Foxtrot Show, or on Twitter at the WTF Radio. Of course, you can always contact us at the WTFradioshow.com. You guys will want to stick around for programs on Patriot Network News, such as the Ruthie Report with Ruthie Hendricks, The American Voice with Ben Pam and Zeta Andrews, and coming next week, Paul Preston with the Agenda 21 radio program. You guys, it's been a wonderful night. We're sorry for any